Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, a podcast where ordinary people get to share their hero's journey. I'm Mandy.
And I'm Karen, and we'll be your hosts.
We'll discover powerful insights, critical moments of growth, and much more.
Thanks for joining us. We all have a monomyth to share, and someone out there needs to hear it.
Welcome to the Monomyth Diaries, where it's a take what you like and leave the rest podcast. Today's featured hero is Vianey, a pastor, a mother, and a woman whose story is deeply rooted in faith and loss. Vianey takes us back to her early years of growing up in a large religious family and opens up about the deep personal losses that shook her beliefs and shifted her path. From questioning her connection with God to facing unimaginable grief, Vianey shares the heartbreak that became the catalyst for her transformation. Let's welcome Vianey to the Monomyth Diaries. Welcome to the show, Vianey. We really appreciate you coming and joining us and sharing your story.
Thank you so much. I'm a little nervous, but I'm excited. I'm excited to share.
I had a friend of mine once say, it's good that you're nervous because it means you care.
Oh, hey, I never saw it that way.
I know.
I usually think of it like negatively, so thank you. That's helping me calm down.
Right. Well, we're going to start with some Monomyth story starters.
Okay.
And there are a series of quick questions to help you get comfortable.
Okay.
And it'll help the audience get to know you.
Okay.
All right. So we're just going to go one after the other.
Okay.
And
Awesome.
you just answer.
Okay.
All right, here we go. What's your all-time favorite movie?
I'm a musicals kind of girl. So more of the recent is like Greatest Showman. I like that one, but probably like old school, Grease, Dirty Dancing, like
I love that.
all the musicals.
Yeah, The Greatest Showman was a good one. What is or would be your go-to karaoke song?
I do not sing. I am not a singer, but if I had to, it'd probably be a Shania Twain, Man, I Feel Like a Woman kind of song. Yeah, so I could just, kind of like yell it out because I can't carry a tune. Sadly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. For people who are just watching this today, your husband has been on the show and his all-time karaoke song was Friends in Low Places. I think it's funny you would both pick country songs.
That's surprising. I thought he would say like a Tupac song or something.
I thought so too. I totally thought he would.
Yeah, like a rap song.
Yeah.
Oh, Friends in the, okay.
Mm-hmm. Something like that. Okay.
Did he say he doesn't like karaoke though?
No, he did not.
He doesn't like karaoke.
No, he did not tell us that.
Yeah.
Do you like karaoke?
I mean, I don't like singing, but I'll have fun. Like, I just like having fun, so it's like, let's go.
All right. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done?
I'm not adventurous. Like, I'm the most, like, safe, careful, So probably the most adventurous for me, which is probably not to anybody, I went skiing for the first time on one of the, like, hires, like blue color, whatever that, there's like levels. And without even having a lesson, my friend took me up there and kind of just like, go. It was horrible. And I would not recommend it to anybody, but that was the most adventurous. Like, I couldn't believe I even said yes to doing that and then regretted it the whole way down. Needless to say, I will never ski again. It was a one and done.
I could see that. I could see where that would terrify you. I still don't ski the blues, and I've been doing it since I maybe was in my early 30s because the blues terrify me.
Again.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Right. What's the first concert you've attended?
The first concert I attended, okay, back in the days, I was probably just out of high school, and I went to a Boys to Men. It was like Boys to Men. It was kind of like I don't know if they called it a car show or something, where it was like multiple like headliners, really, because it was like Boys to Men. I loved Jay-Z at the time, so it was like Jay-Z, Ludacris, I think some other people. So it was like, I mean, to what I think like were huge people all together. So it was really cool. It was one of my first concerts. I was just like in love. Like,
if you had one wish, what would it be?
Is this like a selfish wish, or is it like just
up to you?
Like a genie came up and asked me for a wish? I would probably wish to be able to like go on an extravagant, luxurious trip with my family to like a small, nice island beach. Just like enjoy and relax. Quiet, yes. Where it's not super touristy, but super like glam.
Like an all-inclusive.
All-inclusive, where they're just like spoiling us rotten,
Yes. Well, I think we answered this question, but I'm going to ask you anyway. Oh. What's your dream vacation?
Oh, definitely beach. It has to be beach, and it has to be calm and quiet, and just to hear the waves. Oh, That's my favorite.
All right, I think that was the last one.
Yay, not too bad. I was nervous about those.
Really?
They're on the spot. Like, I'm not good on the spot.
You feel a little more comfortable now?
Sure.
Well, we're going to start by talking about your upbringing. Tell us what it was like for you to grow up.
Okay, so I grew up, I'm one of 8. So huge family. I have 6 brothers. So I don't know if you had brothers, but chaotic. I mean, these are boys, brothers, like they're just wrestling all the time. It was chaos. And I am one of 2 girls, and I'm 6 years younger than my sister. So she moved out of the house very early on. So I pretty much grew up with brothers. It was a 2-parent household. My parents were married all throughout our upbringing. And so there was a lot of stability in that. And we were definitely Christ-centered. Okay. So it wasn't anything that was kind of just a Sunday thing. It was kind of in our house. I grew up where we went to Bible study, during the week. We sat down as a family and prayed together. Like it really was in that aspect stable. But in the amount of people and the amount of conflict we went through, it was very chaotic. I grew up basically feeling getting your way or getting what I wanted was not a thing. One of 10 in the household, right? We had 1 shower. You didn't just get to take a shower when you wanted to. I mean, just in those minuscule things, right? Mm-hmm. And then from just things stuff-wise, also, my parents couldn't afford, they were 2 working parents. We didn't have enough. Growing up, I would say I had a very good upbringing in that we had a stable 2-parent household, hardworking parents that loved us and were around. But we struggled a lot. There were a lot of times where our electricity was cut off or we just didn't have enough money for food. And so we went through a lot of things, but we went through them together. Learning to keep Christ in the center was a thing growing up. We also had this saying in our house. Did you pray about it?
Oh, I love that.
Mm-hmm. Sometimes I loved it, right? It was like meaningful when you're, in a moment where you're kind of reflective, but then sometimes you want your parents to just like answer. You're like, hey, where's this toy I lost? Did you pray about it? I'm like, Dad, just tell me, where's the toy? Or can you help me find it? And so sometimes
it felt a little over the top.
Yes. And sometimes like, okay, not right now, Dad. But, I didn't get it when I was little, right? And so prayer was big in our house. I think I tried to understand that because it was kind of a practical thing when you're like things are not as serious. But growing up, probably getting to my high school years, it got a little harder for me to kind of make that connection. And for me, it was, yes, pray about it. But I think for me, I didn't know how to apply that when the things got harder. And so in my high school years, I started to question just basically religion and all the beliefs. And in the church I was going to, or maybe just where I was attending, it was frowned upon to ask questions. You just follow. For me, that got hard because sometimes it didn't look like that. For example, at school, they would talk about, we kind of stay as Christians together. And then I was like, I have a lot of friends who aren't. How does that work? It always was a disconnect. Sunday, right? What we're creating, but then in my life, it didn't look like that. So there was a big disconnect in high school, and I could tell that I was already starting to have questions. And so I started to kind of pull back.
There's a little doubt.
There was a lot of doubt. So my dad was a journaler. So he had this one entry where he was talking about all of his kids. And he was like, my sister, Abby, and he's talking about her. And he has like 3 sentences about her, how beautiful she is and strong she is. My brother, my next 2 brothers, 3 or 4 sentences about each of my siblings and how strong they are and how they're growing. And when he gets to me, he just says, Vianey, the skeptic. And then goes on to talk about the rest of my siblings. And that, it hurt my heart, but I was like, wow, that's the biggest thing that stands out about me for my dad, that I'm a skeptic. I guess growing up, I just doubted everything. He was a dreamer, he would always oh, we're going to live in a mansion. We're going to, I don't know why I'm getting choked up.
Because you're talking about your dad.
And, I would always that's not going to happen. That was the realist, what I think. But, it did hurt me, that skeptic, that was it. And so I think it caused me to like have some confidence issues. I mean, I don't think it caused me. I think they were always there, but it definitely didn't help. And around this time that I read that entry, he was starting to get sick. So I'm in college and I was already kind of pulling away. And I remember my dad trying to keep me, going to church. And he would say, oh, well, you still live at home, right? You're going to go to church on Sundays, or if you want to go out, you got to go to church. And, for the most part, sometimes I would, but there just was a disconnect. Jesus to me started to feel like a fairy tale. It was like, is it, real? I didn't have that relationship really. I didn't have a connection. I didn't have what, like, I would hear people talk about, oh, I heard Jesus say something to me, or God told me this. And I would be like, again, the skeptic, right? Like, I've never heard that. So are they making this up, or why are they hearing from God and not me? So yeah, I began to feel more like a fairy tale. And so it wasn't something that I was out seeking. I just started to do it my way. I finished college and started to think, if this prayer thing is right, I've been praying about finishing school, getting a career, and then starting to form what my parents had, which is a family. I always wanted a big family, kind of like we had. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm done with college. Like, let's go, right? And got my first job teaching, and I decided to move to Houston. So I'm like, okay, God, if you're real, bless me. All the things that I've wanted, right?
So what are you praying for? What are you asking for?
I'm praying at this moment, I'm praying that, well, in this moment, graduating, I was dating somebody through college. It was a long distance relationship. And I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get married. We're going to have kids. I want to have a home and all the things and start my next chapter of my life. And especially leaving high school and college, you're like, okay, now where are the friends? What group am I part of? And quickly after I get my job and move over here, that relationship crumbles. The relationship that I thought I was praying about, that's not even an option. At this point, I'm like, who am I? And for me, I think I always thought, well, I'm going to find a partner and they will help me create this. But I didn't know how to do it on my own. And so I began, I guess what we would say, the next chapter, which is my 20s, right? Searching and looking for something to fill the void of not having that home structure, the foundation. And then my dad starts to decline. The cancer, what we had thought he had a surgery to get it all out, comes back.
Hold on, let's back up for a moment.
Yeah.
In college, were you attending church still?
Off and on.
Okay.
It was I would make excuses why I couldn't. For me in that time, there weren't a lot of people my age in church.
Okay.
And so I couldn't connect with the older ladies. And then I couldn't connect with the younger people. I was too old to be in like a high school ministry kind of thing. So I didn't feel a connection.
And you mentioned now you're in your 20s and your dad is sick. When did he get sick?
It was sometime in college. I think it was about when I was 21. So my dad was sick before we knew he was sick. He was kind of a tall, heavier set guy. And for a couple of years, he just could not keep food down. And he was either throwing up or the other way coming out. And he was constantly sick. And it seemed like he had stomach issues. And he would go to doctor after doctor and never really found out. So it was probably 2 years until finally he went to a doctor like in Mexico. And the doctor asked him where he was having pain, and right away found out a huge tumor in his colon and realized it was pretty severe. Okay. And so at that point, it was kind of aggressive. And so I want to say towards my senior year, or at the end of is when we called it cancer. Crazy, but I moved to Houston, and then he's going to need help in MD Anderson. And so it provided a place that my mom and dad could come up when he needed to have his procedures or, the chemo, that they could come stay with me. We could go to MD Anderson and then they could go back home if they needed to. But he was fighting cancer for probably the next 4 years. And there was a time, I remember, so he told us one time, he was like, I prayed last night, we talk about prayer. And he said, I prayed last night and God told me, I prayed for hope. And I'm thinking at this point, God's not gonna do anything. Like, I didn't see him saving my dad out of it because his body was breaking down. And he said, I prayed for hope last night. And he said, this morning I went to I think it was like a pain management. And I met a new girl, and her name is Esperanza. And he said, that's a hope in Spanish. He said, God sent me her. And I think probably last 6 months of his life, he had Esperanza kind of help him with managing some of the pain towards the end. And so little things like that at the end, where when I was already kind of far away from Christ, kind of kept me pulling back. When I got the phone call at school, remember it was like one of my first years teaching, and it was September, so beginning of the year, and it was like, come home, he's not going to make it. Getting a phone call like that is just, it's so hard because you're already grieving, right? You're already scared and grieving. So I remember having to drive 5 hours and going, God, like, why is this happening? Why us? Why my dad? I always felt like my dad was one of the strongest men, and faithful, and lived his life. In the practical sense, he lived it very healthy. He had high blood pressure, like the hereditary guy, but always tried to eat healthy. Like, we'd eat fried food, and he'd be like, I'm not going to eat the fried food. And so in my mind, I'm like, God, he tried to live that healthy life. And he prayed and taught us about prayer. And so it was, a long ride home, but also just like a battle where I started to argue with God, like, why? I get home, I get to the hospital at home, and it's me, my mom, my sister, and we're preparing to let him go. But it's one of those most challenging things to do where you say, I want him here selfishly. But I get it. It's hard. It's like his body is tearing down, and so you go, I don't want him to suffer anymore. So I don't know if you've ever been through that where you're just kind of waiting for somebody who's holding on.
Yeah.
And one particular evening, I'm sitting there, and it's me, my sister, and my mom, and it's like overnight, and my dad is a little restless, and I'm like, okay, Dad, like, I'm kind of like trying to calm him, and he just keeps kind of moving around. Like, he's not really with us per se, but in all of his waking up, my sister and my mom are like rocks asleep. So my dad is really restless, and I get up to kind of hug him and just be with him, and I'm like trying to calm him down, and it's scaring me, but also I'm just like, I feel for him. And so I lean over and I say, Dad, like, it's okay to let go. Weirdest thing, because to this point I feel like my prayers are nothing, right? And almost immediately he just starts what feels like maybe like convulsing, right? Like he's coming out of it. And again, I'm going, somebody, like, my mom doesn't hear it. My sister, it was really weird. It was like a surreal moment because I'm going, how is my mom not waking up? Like, she's there for my dad. And it was like a moment where I just, it was like I was telling him goodbye and watching him kind of go and thinking, why did he, like, why is my releasing him happening? I guess I didn't feel like he would wait for me to tell him. It would have been my mom, my sister, somebody else, right? And so that was kind of the moment where he left. Like, it wasn't like the last moment, but it was the last moment he was with us. The rest, it was like where they're on support kind of thing. And then he passed shortly thereafter. And I'm like, why did we have that moment? Like, it was very weird. And I remember almost not feeling worthy to have that moment. It was very weird. But it was a moment that was super clear to me, like, because it felt like in that moment where I was like just struggling with what was happening, I was kind of reaching out to God, like, hey, this is too much for him. This is too much for all of us. If it's your will, take him. And then I told my dad that, and then it just felt like it just happened in that moment. It's one of the first times that I feel like an answered prayer, but it hurts too, you know?
I think you told me too at one point your dad had a dying wish.
Yes, a few days before in the hospital, he would talk to us and just talk about the importance of Christ and importance of our family staying together and making sure that we knew that we had each other and that he wasn't going to be there forever and that we needed each other and that we needed to pray. And he said, if I could say anything for me to carry on is for you to come back to Christ and put him in the center of your life. He, encouraged me to go back to church. And, I promised him yes in the moment. I didn't like think about what that was going to look like. If that's your dying wish and that's the only thing he wanted for us, was like, I'll do that, Dad. And it did take me a while to process that and go like, okay, what does that look like? I don't want to do it for my dad anymore because I feel like I did that my whole life. So I wanted to be genuine in what I did. I wanted to truly seek out what my dad was asking me to do and not just, okay, I'm going to go to church every Sunday and I'll be there so my dad knows I'm there. I truly wanted to find out, why is his dying wish this? Why is it so important for him? And so I promised him, and I remember my mom going, okay, like, I'm witnessing,
I'm going to hold you to this.
I'm going to hold you to this.
I find it interesting. That's such an interesting way to say it. You had been doing it for your dad.
I mean, I didn't realize it until then.
Yeah.
And how, like, it didn't get me anywhere. And it didn't mean anything for me when I did it for him or my parents. And not that that was a bad thing, but I just, in that moment, I'm like, I have no connection with Jesus. So his encouragement, it was kind of my first push to like, okay, now you have to figure this out. What does this look like? Now you're at an age where you need to learn about this and figure this out on your own. And I think for me, immediately it was, oh, go to the same church. That's what my dad wanted. So I gave that a try. And when it didn't feel right, but when it just didn't connect, I was sad about it because I'm like, this is what he wanted and I'm not complying. So I would go for a little bit and then stop and go for a little bit and like try again. And I just felt empty. Like the only thing keeping me there was that I had promised my dad. And again, I didn't want to do that again. So I remember somebody, I don't remember if it was at church. Right now, I can't even remember who it was, but they were like, did he want you at that church or did he want you to get to know Jesus? And I was like, okay, you're right. The focus was not about where I was sitting. It was that I was getting to know Christ and making him the center. And it doesn't matter which house that's happening at. And so it released me of where it needed to be. And so then I started to kind of search. And at this time, I'm kind of still praying, especially when losing my father. I had lost my dad shortly after I lost an aunt to breast cancer and my grandparents from both sides.
Wow, so you have a series of losses.
Dark, yes. It was a dark time in that, like, I was just felt like just people being torn out of my life. What I felt in my 20s was that God was taking away these people, these very important people in my life. Mm-hmm. And so while I'm feeling the obligation to look for Jesus, I'm also kind of getting angry at him. Like, okay, God, why are you removing these people, these very important people from my life, and you want me to come and focus on you, but I can't. I feel like I'm just sad.
You described it to me once as feeling disconnected and unheard.
Totally. I'm praying about these things and praying for protection over my family and praying for protection and healing over some of these family members who are getting sick, and I feel unheard, and it kind of makes me feel back to where I'm a child and I'm one of 8 and I'm going, hey,
Yeah. What
Look
about
over
me?
here, what about me? It feels very much unheard or like not worthy to be heard. While I'm kind of torn, right? I'm angry. I'm going through processing grief a lot of different times in the early 20s, and then going, okay, God, remember me? I'm over here, and I was praying about my career and a family and starting my family. Can I get that? And I think the more I lost people, the more I wanted that, almost to a fault, probably, because I began to pray harder and like maybe more angrily about it. Like, hey, I'm not getting what I want. I'm not being heard. It kind of culminates to a desperation point. I'm running around doing my own thing, and that's not making me happy.
And you're looking for a new church.
And I'm looking for a new church, and that's not so I feel like I have zero stability in my life, zero kind of like grounding. I think that's what I was looking for in a marriage, thinking, oh, that will ground me, and then I can start there and then fix everything else.
Ooh, an external solution.
Yeah. Nobody does that. And obviously in your 20s you just don't know why you're doing these things, but for me it was like, okay, can I just hurry up and get what I wanted? And meanwhile, a lot of my friends are getting that.
Yeah.
And people are like, oh, they married their high school sweetheart. They're like, oh, finding love in all the places that same places I'm going to, and it's just not happening. And I'm going, okay, God, you're not listening to me. You don't care about what I want. Now I look back and I'm like, it sounded so selfish, but I just wanted to be heard. I didn't want everything I wanted. I just wanted something, right? And so I always found myself like, hey, God, like, here I am. Do you see me?
Mm-hmm.
But probably like this, timidly, right? Also, I wasn't like this outgoing, confident person saying, hey, listen to me. It was like, hey, are you okay? Listen to me. You got any time? So that led me to a boyfriend. Looking back, I was not in a place to date anybody. I was grieving my dad and not in a place where I would like process who I should date. Mm-hmm. Is this a good candidate? And not to bash anybody, but it probably wasn't the healthiest time for me. But I got in a relationship constantly almost forcing this stuff. Do you want to get married? Is that your plan? Do you want to marry? Do you want to have kids? Like, and if it's not, tell me. And like, almost like it was my focus. Mm-hmm. And so I wasn't healthy, but in that he had been going to a church on and off. And so for me, I'm like, oh, let me appease you because I kind of want for this to work. So let's go to that church. And so I go for the first time, and it is completely different than what I've ever gone to. It's very contemporary. And I was used to a traditional, we sing hymns. There's a piano or an organ playing. When I come to this church, it's like a concert. But I guess it got my attention enough to go, this is very different. I liked the feeling I got during worship. While it was so different, it had me thinking about my dad. It had me thinking about Jesus, all the things where I hadn't processed very much because I was looking for external things to cover it. It was kind of my quiet time to process some of the things that I was grieving and some of the things I had lost, process my questions about God. I liked it. Shortly after the relationship started crumbling, I kept going to the church and starting to get all the questions I had growing up that were never allowed to be asked. I was asking them, and I was getting answers, and sometimes inward questions would get answered in sermons and in different classes, and I started getting hungry for it. And it was kind of the first time in my 20s, so I'm like late 20s probably now, 26, 27. I'm feeling a little bit sense of stability now. Mm-hmm. Like I'm feeling like I'm getting to a place where I can put my feet on the ground. I can start to learn and ask questions and grow. And, while that relationship didn't work, I was grateful to now have what I felt was a church home. So then I just started getting plugged in. I'm finally feeling kind of this connection and a sense of belonging. They had a really big singles ministry. But I'm like, okay, I can try that out. And not really for dating this time, since I had just come out of a relationship. I was just more like, I want to be around people my age that also might have some of the same questions and have gone through some of the same things. And so I'm going to this singles group, and I will be honest, it was such a different atmosphere. So I grew up in South Texas, It's not very diverse. I felt so weird in this like melting pot of, ethnicities. And so that was a challenge. And then starting to do life with people outside of my culture was new, right? It wasn't anything that I was afraid of or anything. It was just new. And so learning to mix and mingle with singles of all different backgrounds. It started to grow me in a way that I really had never expected. And I remember even talking to my mom, like, gosh, Houston is so diverse. We didn't have that growing up in my small town in the valley. And so I'm learning so many things about cultures and places and different things, but I'm also growing in my faith. So I think for me, kind of, it started to go, okay, well, now I'm ready, God. I'm growing. I'm learning. I'm seeking you a little more. I'm getting plugged in. I'm serving. I'm starting to read my Bible. I'm asking questions about the Bible. I just feel like, okay, now don't you think I'm ready? And I'm
still asking for what you want.
Yeah, I'm still kind of like, hey, and so again, then here comes the like, oh, your clock is ticking, all the things, like you're getting older. And so again, all my friends getting married. You're in a singles group. And so some of the singles start dropping off because they're getting married.
They're not single anymore.
And so I find myself now getting to my 30s and going, okay, God, remember me. And I'm in a different place, confidence-wise, in my spiritual walk, but it still feels like I'm still stuck in that little girl's body of, I don't get what I want. Everybody around me is getting what they want. And I'm praying about these things now, and I'm checking all the boxes. Why am I not getting what I want? I feel like it's a constant battle where I go like a really good few months, and I'm strong and I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling like, hey, God's timing is the perfect timing. And then to going, hey, God, on the floor, right? Like, are you hearing me? And still never really hearing from God. Like I hear people say, man, I heard God tell me that, this was the one. And I don't know, I like felt jealous of that. Like, why don't I get that? What am I doing wrong? And I did start to kind of self-evaluate, like, am I doing it for the right reason? Am I doing it to get married, or am I doing it to truly like get to know Jesus, like my dad kind of asked me to? So I get a little more plugged in.
Same
church. I'm still serving. Now I'm making really strong friendships. And I want to say, like, the group that I kind of really connected with, it was a big group of girls, and we started kind of really getting strong, and we're kind of going through the same thing. We're all kind of feeling like, hey, we're walking with Christ, and we're looking for a man to walk alongside us, but also not desperate and wanting whoever, but we're all feeling like we're getting older. We're all like in that same boat. So we really connect, and we just got really strong together and really like started to create like a group outside of church where we would get together and pray with each other, pray for each other. And as our lives started changing, now we're getting older adults, and we're actually like aging out of single group, because it's kind of like a young singles, and then the next one is older singles.
Okay.
And we're like, we're not going to the older singles. Like, we're just kind of like, but we're aging out of what we're kind of the group we're in, and people are getting married. So now it's like all the young people coming in. They're 19, 20 out of college. And we're like, yeah, we're in our 30s. We don't belong here anymore. So we start an outside group, and not an outside group. We're still going to the church, but we're trying to figure out life now, like post early single 20s. Now we're in our 30s. And so early in our 30s, we start doing these things where we're like, hey, we're going to up our social game. We're going to start doing these social events, part of the church, but also invite people, and we'll just do these social hours. So everybody invite like friends, and like I remember they were like, bring a guy friend that you're not interested in, don't want to date or anything, but maybe he'll date somebody else in the group, right? So I meet somebody, we end up starting to date. And in my walk in this time, I'm like, okay, I want to get married, but I don't want to force it. I want to do better than my last relationship. So, like, okay, how do I manage this, God? And so I began praying about it. I will say, in my relationship with this person, his name was TJ. I kind of felt like I was the same person in a relationship asking like, hey. I remember me kind of like pushing for marriage and with somebody who wasn't on the same page. We were kind of like on and off. Do we want this? Do we not want this? How do you do this and continue a walk with Christ? So I remember my friends were constantly praying about it. And so 5 years in, we get married.
To TJ.
Yes, to TJ. TJ and I get married. And I'm thinking, okay, God, this is what I've been praying about. Like, you're hearing me. And I kind of feel like I've made it. I don't know why that is like the main.
So y'all get married, you do the house, all the things.
Yeah, because I'm like, we're here. We're gonna do the things that I've been praying for.
Church together, all the things.
Yeah, I'm like, we're going to church. We start talking about having a family, and pretty quickly we get pregnant. We buy a house, and I'm actually like feeling like this is it. Like I can even feel the feeling that like of exhaling, like where you go, this is what all I wanted. God, was it that hard, like so at this point I'm in my upper 30s, and I remember my friends being excited for us and feeling like we've made it, or I've made it, like. But if you're in a group that's like just praying about something like that, then it feels like, oh, okay, you got it. And
but God provided.
Yeah, God provided. He made a way, or he brought the guy, and we get pregnant in 2015. In 2016 in April I have my son, and I'm on top of the world. I remember driving to church one morning thinking like, this scenario is exactly what I wanted, or what I felt like I prayed about. And while I didn't feel like necessarily like a moment where God winked at me or anything, but I did feel like I'm doing the right thing. I'm on the right path. I'm on the path to creating what I felt was my dream. My life dream was to have a foundation and a home like my parents had. So I have my son, and I have him in April, so I'm in teaching, and I have maternity leave, and then I have summer off, and so we're just doing things as a family, and we're kind of growing as a family. And fall begins, I'm going back to work, and so we get my mother-in-law to come take care of my son while I go back into teaching. And so it's beginning of September. I remember very vividly. It's a Friday. It's lunchtime, and at this point I had a job that was a little flexible. I wasn't in the classroom, so I was like, you know what, today let's go out to lunch. I tell my friend. So we go down the street to pick up lunch. I'm sitting there, and my friend gets a call, and I could tell it's an important call because she's like, what? She's like, hurry, we have to get back. And then I'm like, what? She says, they said they've been trying to call you on the intercom. And, I'm confused. Why would you need to call me on the intercom? And I'm like looking at my phone. I don't have a phone call, and I'm just so confused. I can see in her face that something's wrong, and it has to do with me. And I'm thinking, am I in trouble? Is it my son? Like, what's going on? And so I get a phone call from my principal as we're driving. He says, hey, meet me in the parking lot. I'm going to take you home. And and so I'm like, I start to panic.
Of course.
And I think it's my son. I'm like, what has gone on? And I remember in this moment, thank you, that I visually in my head, I picture I kissed them goodbye this morning. Everything was fine, And so my principal picks me up, and he's like, we got to go. Your mother-in-law called the school. And I'm looking at my phone. She hasn't called me. What in the world? And he's like, I don't know, call her. And so I call her, and she's yelling, like, I can't understand what she's saying, but she's yelling. And I just start to panic, like, what is happening? Because I want to hear you. I can't hear you. And she's crying and screaming, and I just hear her say, TJ's gone. I'm like, what? And I'm driving to my house, like a 30-minute drive, so I'm trying to hurry, but in it, I'm trying to pray in this moment. And I'm thinking, right now I should be praying big prayers to save my husband, or whatever it is. And I couldn't, I had nothing. I'm just going, God, what? What's going on? And I'm trying to pray, like, please protect him, keep him alive, keep him protected, healthy, whatever it is. I don't even have the words though. Like I'm numb. I'm dry. We're driving over there and I don't even know what to say because I feel like, is he gone? Is it too late? But also, if it is, why, right? And then what do I do? And so we get to my house and there's an ambulance there, and I walk up and the police officer says, he's gone. And I walk in and he says, we're gonna take him in the ambulance because we want to take him out of the house and not pronounce him dead here, but don't expect that when you get to the hospital he's gonna wake up. They're like, we've had him on the machine long enough, the breathing machine, and he's not responsive. And I'm looking at my mother-in-law and she's just screaming, crying, hysterical, and I'm like, I get my baby and I'm just like, what? And I just start feeling like everything spins around me. And it was like almost like I go back to getting the call about my dad, and it's like, here's another phone call that I get where I'm losing somebody really special, and I have no idea what to do because now I'm in charge of my house, my home, and my son is 5 months old. And I'm like, what in the world just happened? And people are all around me, and it just feels so surreal because I'm like, I'm in a nightmare, but I have a brand new son who I have to kind of keep it together for. And so I go to the hospital, and I just remember having one of those moments where it's not like deja vu per se, but I feel like here I am now with the last breaths of somebody, just like I was with my dad, and having to say goodbye and not wanting to, and just like craziest things. But you just start to notice all the little things on our bodies that we'll like to remember. I'm trying to remember like the mole on his face and all these things where you're just like, but saying goodbye is the hardest thing to do, and having to turn around now and okay, now you have to make funeral plans. And then in my mind, the first thing that starts to go is like, my life is shattered. I'm like, I'm going from 2 incomes to 1. I'm in a 2-parent household. I didn't dream about being a single mom. My life begins to completely shatter in front of me, and I'm going, God, I prayed for these things and I get a taste and you take it all away. And at this point, I had, been walking with Christ for a lot longer than, before, but I was still angry and I was confused. And I'm looking at my son and going like, I'm sorry. I don't know how I could have kept this together, and trying to figure out how I'm going to pick up the pieces. And so the days after my husband passed away were just a complete blur. I'm like, in and out of crying, and you're just, so many people come around, and you have to, like, business as usual. You got to plan a funeral, you got to do all these things, and I feel like my life is kind of being pulled away from me. And so I go on a walk alone. I ask my sister to watch my baby, and I'm just kind of talking with God. And the feeling I had at this point, the only way I can describe it is like, I know you're there, God. You're my heavenly Father, right? So it's the parent love, but it's something that I'm angry at. So it's like when you're angry at your parents, like, they love you, but you don't want to talk to them right now. So I'm like, yeah, not right now, God. I have no words for you, because if I have words for you, it's going to be angry and ugly and mean. And so I'm just kind of like giving him the hand. And I'm walking around with my dog at this point. And I remember turning the corner, and it was literally like the clouds parted and it just gets quiet. And I hear God tell me, you're going to be okay. And he says, you're to me in a you and Noel. And it's almost audible. But it's so clear to me, like where I remember I was saying, like, never in my life have I heard from God. It was so clear that it was God, and the warmth and the feeling that I got, that I knew we were going to be okay. But in that moment, it was like a feeling of, you're going to be okay with a husband/father figure for Noel. 3 days after my husband passed, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to imagine a life with somebody else. I wanted him here. You know, that was the family I had. And so I'm like kind of angry at him saying that. But it was so clear that I'm like, wow. Again, I see the clouds parting and it's like, okay, that was you, but I don't want to hear you.
And this is the first time.
The first time. Yeah, literally. And I know God had to make it so clear because I'm such a skeptic. So I have no doubt that it's him, but and it's so clear, and I know it's you, and I'm angry at you, and I'm clear about that. So I'm like, really? And I remember going like this, like, really, God? Like, that's what you're going to tell me right now? Like, you finally choose to talk to me, and you're going to tell me that I'm going to be okay with another man, and that Noel's going to be taken care of? Like, don't go there. And we continue the walk, and I'm just kind of angry. And again, I feel like a very strong peace, and again, like the clouds parting moment. And he says, I'm going to use this pain for many. It was a mental image that popped in my head as he says this. And again, very clear, like
On the same walk.
4 steps later, I see myself like on a stage speaking to people. So that pops out of my head, and I'm like, you're going to use my pain. Oh, thank you. You're going to use this kind of, so I'm angry, but I'm like, God, that's not even me. Like, I couldn't see it. So I'm so clear that it's God, but I'm like, that would never be me. I can't stand to be on the spotlight. Like, I don't like attention. I don't share my story. I don't want people to know my story. At this point, I'm embarrassed that I'm a single mom now, and that this has happened to me, and I'm later in my years. And so again, it's all about like, oh, I don't want to share this. I want to hide this. So I'm crying now because I'm like, whoa. That was a definite moment. So I walk in the house, and my sister's there. She's holding my baby, and I'm kind of making a face like I'm so confused. She's like, what's wrong? Are you okay? And I'm like, the weirdest thing just happened to me. And I'm like, I was walking down the street with the dog, and I heard God tell me we're going to be okay. And I just start crying, and she starts crying. And she goes, wow, 5 minutes ago, we felt this super strong, calming peace. And she says, I was praying that you would be okay. She said, God told me you were going to be okay. And I'm like, wow, we heard that together. It didn't change the fact that I was going through grief and the pain, but I think it was a reminder that he's there. And I wish I could say that I was like, oh, then I just held on to God's promise. No, I was like angry. And while I started with, oh yeah, you're a parent, I'm angry and I'm not going to talk to you. Then it was like, I'm not going to talk to you. Now I'm going to curse you out. Now I'm going to like stick the middle finger and just like, I mean, I was angry because I felt like, why me? Why all the things that I wanted and prayed for, I felt like I was getting them, and now they're stripped away again. I'm losing people out of my life, and just going through like, God, I was a skeptic already, and you took it from a skeptic. Like, you shouldn't. It began a spiral down. Because at first I'm like, oh yeah, I'm not talking to God, but I still believe in him. And then it was like, oh God, you're doing this on purpose. And now as the years went on, after losing TJ, I thought, oh, that's the rock bottom. Now God should make it better. And I kept feeling like I was getting even lower. Like, I don't know, it's from the trivial things, like if I tripped over something, like, really, God? Like, you can't protect me from, like, it was in the little things and it was in the huge things. Eventually, after the year of teaching finished, I just said, I can't do this. I can't do this without help. My mother-in-law had left almost immediately after my husband passed away, and I just felt alone, and nobody really could understand what I was going through. Yeah. And while they tried to help with the grief, I didn't want any part of any, sharing with anybody. And it was very painful that I just kind of like ran from God, ran from people, ran from everything. But in it, tried to balance, okay, I'm not going to have God in my life, but how can I maintain a healthy spirit for my son? I didn't want him to grow up feeling the instability. How can I stay strong for him? And I remember a lot of nights crying in my bed and my room far away from the baby room, trying to like just grieve it all out and, feel the pain. And my son would start crying and I would hear him on the baby monitor and run, oh my gosh, I got to get it together. And that was sometimes saving, because there were some nights that I thought about like taking my life. Like I was feeling really depressed and like not getting these things. I didn't feel worthy. And how can I continue? Like I didn't feel like I would ever feel true joy again. Like it was always gonna feel dark. And I was always gonna have this like not enough, like feeling like I'm not heard again. So I spiraled, but every time I had these moments of like wanting to either take my life or give up, my son would cry and I would run to him. And so kind of saved my life in those first years. And I decided to not do it alone. I told my mom and my sister, I'm like, I need to move back home closer to you guys. I didn't want to. I fought it for a long time, but I slowly started to kind of let go of the stuff that was holding me back, which is like, the stuff of when people leave, they have stuff behind and everything you want to hold on to and hold on to the dream of the prayers or whatever, like of what I thought was going to be. And then I just started like, okay, kind of accepting where I was.
Would you say that the loss of TJ and your spiraling, as you call it, your unraveling, life is shattering.
Yeah.
Would you say that this is the catalyst that's going to push you into becoming different? Transforming is what we would call it. Like there's going to be major changes coming your way.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it kind of strips you of all the skepticism. I mean, there's no taking that away. And then you're like, I have to grow from this. I literally felt like I was at the bottom, like that I couldn't go any further bottom, and the depression I felt, and I started to feel anxiety and all that.
This is going to force you to hit your
rock
bottom.
Either I'm going to stay here forever or I need to get out of it.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Well, we're looking forward to talking about your next chapter and the next episode, where we're going to hear all about your transformation and all of the blessings and boons that are going to come out of this horrible situation that you've experienced repeatedly, the series of losses.
Mm-hmm. So. Thank you.
We want to thank Vianey for joining us today. Her honesty about loss and doubt reminds us just how complex the journey towards healing can be. In our next episode, Vianey shares what happened when she finally surrendered. She opens up about finding purpose, rediscovering joy, and stepping into a calling she never saw coming. You won't want to miss the rest of her incredible transformation. Thank you for joining us on the Monomyth Diaries. If this episode resonates with you or someone you know, we'd love for you to share it and spread the inspiration.
Don't forget to follow us wherever you get your podcasts or on YouTube to stay connected.
We'd appreciate if you could take a moment and rate and review the podcast. It helps us reach more people with stories of transformation and growth.
You can visit us at monomythdiaries.com or text us directly from the show notes to reach out and keep the conversations going.
Until next time, heroes, let's journey together through our monomyths.